Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, a show that examines all aspects of sexuality, from physical to emotional to spiritual. Join our hosts as they discuss age-old questions, common misconceptions, and the latest topics surrounding sex. They'll tackle topics about sexuality from the complicated to the hilarious and everything in between. GSMC Sex Podcast is your show for all of your questions about sex, even some you might not have thought of yet.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Hello out there, you horny devils, you. Today's topic, we're going to go in the world of introverts. And talk a little about some extroverts, but mainly introverts, and how it is to have sex with an introvert, or how to have sex with that introvert. And then finish out the show with some positions for both an introvert and an extrovert. So, a little definition of what an introvert is, as if you don't already know, I'm going to say it anyway. Too bad. An introvert is often thought of as a quiet, reserved, and thoughtful individual. Introverts prefer minimal stimulation and stimulating environments, and they need time alone to recharge. Whereas on the opposite end of that spectrum is the extrovert, which is refueled by being with others. So, you're thinking about this, and sex is now, you're attracted, thinking of the Breakfast Club, the little introvert that's sat in the back. And when she did talk, everybody thought she was losing it, but she was pretty darn smart. But, some people like that shyness in their partner. There's a shyness, and then there's an introvert. So you need to decide which you would prefer to be with. But studies have shown that introverts do, or explain why they make the best lovers. Obviously, most introverts are happy just being at home with a good book, or just basically staying within their comfortable realm. However, when it comes to sex and an introvert and why they are considered best lovers, is because, introverts won't brag about it later, how your sex life is or your personal life. They keep it to themselves. So if you couldn't perform during your sexual act, they're not going to say anything. As a matter of fact, they might just take it in as it being their fault. They're not going to talk to anyway, because 10 to 1, they really probably don't have a lot of friends. Another reason might be because they don't just have sex. They actually are in it for the quote unquote love. They're not ones for hookups or or, that booty call or that friends with benefits. They are more concerned with making love. They prefer sex that has a deeper meaning to it, not just let's get a wham, bam, thank you, man, and solve physical attraction. They're in it for the long run and feelings and all of that. This next one, which I don't understand too much, but we will go through it anyway, is the best breakup advice on the web, sponsored. Oh, it's funny. The reasons why it is very good to have sex with an introvert. They're not going to, if you break up, well, actually, believe it or not, they can help you through complicated and difficult breakup situations, basically. They immediately connect. This is really where they'll connect with a coach, a sex coach. And I don't think that really makes them the best the best way to person to have sex with. They probably are going out and getting coached, which might be just what you like, because they're learning and they're going to bring it back to you. Why not? I don't think it's really one of the things that has sex involved in it. However, as we move on, introverts prefer a not-so-quiet night in. Now, every so often, we love just coming in, sitting down on the couch with our partners, maybe getting a snack, and watching a movie. And, staying home. Introverts aren't ones that are going to get up and just, continually go out. It's more of, let's just stay home, and that introvert will give you everything you need in the bed. The moaning, the screaming, all of that. But they don't want to go out to do it. They're patient and longer lasting when it comes to sex. Obviously, extroverts in this position are a lot louder, a lot more animated, shall we call it, when it comes to the bedroom. But introverts make it last longer, whereas it's not going to lead to premature ejaculation or, prematurely getting your rocks off. It's the patience in their lovemaking that allows them to make it last longer. Now, they say the best things come to those who wait. This is one of them. With an introvert, they want to know what you want. They're more concerned with you. They are very intense on trying to figure out what you like, what you don't like. They keep things a little bit more close to heart, so to speak. And this goes back from the first time you meet to the first time you had sex and everything that happened during that time. They keep that in, and they treasure that. And they pay attention more to how you move And then they start to think about how they can do things that would make it your best sex ever. They're more about you, not me when it comes to the bedroom. Introverts naturally are curious, as with everybody else, but they go to a higher degree of curiousness, whereas they're exploring your body to see what gets you off and what doesn't. They look forward to a torturous build-up and multiple orgasms, and this is as you are exploring each other. And they'll do it until their heart is content with what your pleasure is. It's almost like saying, watch out for the quiet ones, because they're actually watching everything. They're very observant, so when it comes to sex, an introvert is really calculating how well and how deep they can be with you sexually and intimately. And intimacy with introverts is kind of difficult, but they're in for the love part of it, so they go even deep beyond that. They're making sure that you're okay in what you want and that all your needs are being met sexually. They're sensitive to their partner's foreplay needs. It's funny because the way it's worded is that it's foreplay is optional, and introverts never leave it out, meaning that foreplay is very long lasting. They extend it. It is such a build up to having sex, and they have been found to give very good foreplay and adhere to the needs of their partners sexually and in such a deep way. And they're not about the selfishness, they're all about their partner, which some people, that's very good. They're experts at setting the mood. They know how to set the mood. They're making sure that you're comfortable, their partners are comfortable. They're making sure that their partner is fully in the mood. They'll set the mood for you. They'll play the music, the Barry White with the deep voice. They'll light candles. They'll set up the mood for you. They probably won't do it on the first date or anything like that, and I'm hoping that if this is a person that you actually want to be with, you kind of sort of wait. But it would be a couple of dates in before having sex, because they need to know they're reading you first off, and this is how they gain their information on how to please you sexually in the bed. They're ready to try things you never heard of. They have maneuvers that they've probably, sexual maneuvers that they probably have calculated in their mind, and they want to try it with you, with their partner. Obviously, they could blow your mind because it's not that they're not paying attention. They are very much paying attention. They would probably know all the sexual moves. And then when they get you, or when they're with their partner, whoever that is, they probably have calculated the original move, sexual position, shall I say, and kind of turned it into something new, a new position. And they are all willing to try it out on you. they take feedback very well. Some people don't. Extroverts do not. Obviously, everything that an introvert does, extroverts do it the opposite. They actually want to improve and make the sex between the two of you amazing. So that feedback to them, they're sucking it in, they're calculating it, they're trying, for the next time where they can do it better and have you much more pleasured. They love cuddling afterwards. Big thing with introverts, makes them feel very, very, comfortable, and this is how they connect. And because of this is why they are known as, for being one of the best types of lovers out there. They only, they don't like going out into big crowds and stuff like that, but staying home and cuddling and curling up together, and especially after coming down off an orgasmic high from the both of you, it's much more of a thrill. You get much more amazing sensual sex and amazing relaxing cuddles. So they are really in tune to what their partner wants, and they want to give them that to them sexually. And because of this is why they are such great lovers and great sex partners, because it's inside. They're not throwing it out there. They take their time at what they're doing to make sure that their partners are getting satisfied, and they are thinking of ways to make up new positions or wanting to try new positions with their partner. So we are going to take a break here. So get that drink, get that snack, come back, get relaxed, and when we come back, we will continue our talk about introverts and sex, and then we'll close out the show with some positions for introverts and some positions for extroverts. So I will meet you back here in a bit for more sex talk with Andra.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. My name is Andra, and I am your host, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Now, thank you for tuning back in. We ended off with, just explain a little way why introverts make awesome sex buddies. So we're going to move on to our next topic in the introvert sex category. And as promised, we'll finish out with some positions for both the introvert and the extrovert. So I'm going to go on to, 10 things to remember before you have sex with an introvert. Wonder what that can be. Obviously, introverts are vulnerable, and they're vulnerable towards another person, not only themselves. It's not always easy when working with an introvert, but I think once you're in their realm of thought and feelings, you're okay. You gotta be comfortable. They have to be comfortable around you. Everybody else is like that as well. They are capable of engaging in intimacy and affection. So don't ever think that they don't. They're just way on a deeper level than probably their partner. They have emotions, but it is at a much deeper and intense level than would be the extrovert or the person. Everybody has some portion of introvert and extrovert in them. However, the fact that we function on a level where it is well balanced and makes it, it makes you have that little bit of both. Okay, you're not one extreme to the other. But when we're starting off this topic, we will start off with an introvert values honesty over romance. You know that they can kill the mood. And if you're trying to, tickle their fancy, get that foreplay going, they could basically just shoot you down with honesty alone. And that's something that is much more important to them than the romance part. Be honest. And let's be honest with, partners in general, people. You want something good? Well, you gotta be honest. It's as simple as that. Introverts, sexual situations, and highly stimulating environments can kill an introvert's mood. They are not stimulated from by the outside world like an extrovert is. They are more stay-ins, chasing themselves with a book, with the dog or the cat, and just sitting up watching a show on TV. They're very, very content with that. Social anxiety. It's funny because it's not funny actually, because social anxiety generally always gets the best of an introvert. It's very exhausting to them, and it drains their feelings so that they do not want sex. So we do not want to put them in that situation where they will be drained. Deep conversations about complex topics can serve as foreplay to an introvert. So instead of, going in lips first, take it back a notch. Bring up a topic that is going to turn into that deep discussion. Because the more complex it is, the better. Introverts love it. You could also think of topics that could well eventually lead to you and your partner having sex. So remember, those are ways to talk. All that intellectual talk can be integrated with some non-intellectual talking. The more you let an introvert talk, the more animated they become. I just said that they're very animated. Well, actually, extroverts are animated. When you let an introvert talk, they're just almost like a babbler from time to time because they have so much stuff going on in their head. They don't know where to, release it because they keep it to them. They're more, if I stay out of everybody's way, I am not going to get in trouble. I'm staying out of it. Now, once you do get an introvert to open up and, talk deeply, that becomes severe, some serious foreplay for them. And just keep that momentum going. Don't interrupt them. Make sure you're listening, not sharing. And then they may just, be the aggressor in the sexual act. Do not engage in small talk with introverts. You will lose. Just telling you. Although deep and intellectual conversations with an introvert can be viewed as by that introvert as a major turn on. So make the conversation good and let that introvert just start fantasizing of how they can change what you're saying and put it into something sexual in their mind that they're going to try on you. This is really funny. At time to time, most partners will say that they'll fake an orgasm just to get whoever it is you're with off of you because they don't know what they're doing. Not the personal people. There are some of you out there that do not have to do that. So, will do that, but they won't fake it. To them, you can usually tell during sex if an introvert is satisfied with your sexual performance or not. They will make it quite evident to you. So be on the lookout to watch those signs. It's not fake satisfaction. And introverts are always real and authentic in their reactions. So you don't ever want to get done, then look back and it's like nothing. Because we all seek what's it called? I lost my train of thought. Alright, we'll come back to that one. It's highly likely that introverts will not enjoy having sex with other introverts. Well, let's look at this. You put two introverts in a room, are they going to talk? Probably not. You're getting two people with the same personality, which is very hard to work with as it is. And they're to themselves, would rather stay in. And here you are putting them with another one. It's not going to work. Because introverts I mean, granted, if you could get the two introverts together and then all of a sudden let them just take all that sexual energy or whatever, it would work. However, you would definitely, in the situation of sex with an introvert, generally an extrovert is much better because the introvert's gonna absorb and take notes, basically. So, an introvert is going to secretly criticize how you move in the bedroom as you're doing it, and they will tell you what they think after. So, if you are dating or having a sexual relations with an introvert, please be aware that they are going to tell you how they feel after. They're going to be the judge. But you learn from that. Hopefully you learn from that. Some people don't. But you will learn from this. An introvert is going to be open to you disclosing your needs in the bedroom. So basically, they're always gonna listen to what you're saying, and they'll put, like, say you wanted to try a new position, or you saw this position, or you were looking at a book and there was a position in it. Well, they're noting it. How, the what, the why, how could that happen? How can we make it happen? So, introverts can be really creative in the sack when they want to be. It's almost unleashing the lion. Here you are thinking that nothing's going to happen, and then boom, they just turned your world upside down all around and made sex that much more yummy. Because you're breaking them out of their spell a little bit. Just a little. Not a lot. So, that's one thing we need to think about. And it's very, very important to respect your partner's feelings. Making sure that they are being met as yours are being met. Remember that. They may be an introvert, but they are paying attention. They know they do have sexual drives. So they're just, they let it out in the bedroom. They don't go and advertise it about it. They literally let it out in the bathroom. Their skin's always, it's always soft. But when you cuddle, they're great cuddlers. So you may be able to just use one of the positions I told you about. Where you're behind her cuddling, or him. And basically, that cuddling can lead to more sex. It's an attraction, or I think that's really putting it in the wrong tense, but it's I wouldn't even know how to put it. It's more of a way of something. I'm assured. So, we are going to take another break here. So replenish that drink, replenish the snack, and then come back where we continue our talk about sex with introverts, and we will finish out the show with some positions for extroverts and introverts. So meet me back here for more sex talk with Andra.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, with a topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Now we are continuing on with our topic of sex with introvert, or just anything that has to do with sex and an introvert. Now, there are some things that you should know before going into having sex with an introvert. And when we finish, we will close out and show it some positions for extroverts and introverts. Now, one is that, which has been mentioned, sex is more exhausting for an introvert. I mean, it's a good exercise all the way around. One of the best exercises out there. You can have fun while getting your exercise in. It is very good for an introvert, or it's very exhausting for an introvert, because introverts have a particularly hard time recuperating afterward. They're really good at sex, but recuperating later, it is a little hard. It is draining for them physically and mentally. So remember that. Make sure that they do not feel pressured. And that will definitely be a plus for you. It's hard to talk about what we really want. No, yes. Introverts don't really socialize. Of course, that's what that's going to be. It's not saying that it cannot be done. Yes, it is hard to talk about what an introvert really wants. As an introvert, it's really hard to talk about what you want. They have a very difficult time expressing what is on their mind. Regardless if something depended on it or not, it's super awkward. It's not something that they do. So it is really where respecting that and giving them their space, because their way to express it might just be through the act of sex. It might just come down to that. Intimacy comes long before we do, or before an introvert does, shall we say. Their main focus in the beginning is not the sex, is that physical closeness. They would rather get to know someone deeply before they open themselves up to them, to their partner. It's going to take a little while to get closer to somebody who is an introvert, but once you let them out, all hell will break loose. So they have to feel very, very comfortable around you and allow you to do this, to do that, but it's totally up to them. With an introvert, observation is essential. They're always watching what's going on. They become, very good at it because they know. But other than that, that observation, they're watching and learning. It's one of the biggest things. There are distractions that may occur. It is not a pointing game because everybody has an annex, and it is too funny, has distractions. And when it comes to, sex or whatever, and something becomes a distraction, that sex is pushed out further and further and further. Not only are they introverts, but now they're what introverts? So, it isn't, because her mind isn't totally present, or your partner's mind is not totally present in that moment. When you're expressing that intimacy together, it surely does not mean that your partner is not enjoying themselves. With an introvert, it actually means that they are enjoying it so much that their minds are unable to focus on any one thing at that moment. Because the introverts, they don't talk that often. Casual sex can be super awkward. So generally with introverts, you don't find it. They are usually there for the long run. They don't want that wham bam thank you or that one night stand. They would prefer to have a continual partner, and probably, would do all for you. So, it's hard for introverts to get things started. So they might need or have the need for less sex as opposed to more. Because an extrovert would be looking for more and having continual. It's really being able, knowing what you're doing, how to do it as a partner and initiating that from time to time. An introvert's fortress of solitude is not for sex. Generally. Not all the time at least. Every so often, it is for sex. They need their time away, which is very, very valuable to introverts to be able to be that sexual partner. They need to get to that safe place, and this way it works for you with respects to being able to get sex from an introvert partner. You probably won't, well, the introvert won't be turned on after a party because they are not aroused in it. As a matter of fact, it pulls them out. They don't get like that rush like an extrovert would do when regards to a party and sexual thoughts and things are being thrown around. It isn't, an introvert doesn't do that, which is a good thing. They have different feelings, different thought processes, and they don't exactly have a very large pool of friends. They may have that one friend, but that's what makes them themselves. It's not that they're antisocial. This is what is going on in their heads. So be respectful of that. Because if you want that orgasm or you want her or him to just have mad sex with you, respect what she's saying and what she's doing. And you'll be able to go much further with that. So, on to our next one, with introverts sitting silently after sex actually is like totally not weird. This is, they enjoy that quiet time where they enjoy spending that quiet time with that partner or persons that they need in their lives. So, right after, cuddle with an introvert, because that is a way to basically scale everything. You are still there. Just don't get up and be wham bam, thank you ma'am. It would not work. It would bring more issues to the sexual activity that will be going on. But generally, you know how they say watch out for the quiet ones. An introvert is quiet but wild in the bed. There are ways to look at it, and there's ways to realize that, wow, okay, I would have never guessed it. You know, because here, you'll find yourself saying that, because here's this person you're dating, won't go to parties, or doesn't really like them, would prefer being home with the mirror. And who's to say? Introverts probably masturbate for exploration of themselves, which is probably one of the things that is very, very good to them, good for them. You know, they do give you ways in which to tell if you are an extrovert or an introvert. And these are like some quick ways that you can tell. It's your innate personality, which determines if you're a social butterfly or a shrinking violet. That is like so cute, but it is true. Alright. Introverts actually think about sex all the time. Unfortunately, on the opposite end of that, they're not exactly having it. They enjoy thinking about sex, but for the most part don't have it. Introverts read the entire Kama Sutra. So we know that now here are some positions. Let me fill you on them. They're really sexually active, just in the manner for which we believe they are. Extroverts have very detailed sexual fantasies, so they're fantasizing how sex would be with a person and finding ways in which to take that fantasy and make it work. They're creating an act in their head which is much more powerful than what would be happening in real life. Now, there are some ways to spice things up if your partner is a sexual introvert. In knowing this, you should be able to just work with them a lot better. Understanding what being an introvert is a great help. I mean, you're attracted to this person, they're attracted to you. It's a way of looking at it. If you are that sexual introvert, or you even suspect that your partner is one, there are ways to bring a better routine to the sex, or making it more interesting, working new positions, anything like that. So, if you're going to spice things up with an introvert, it must be intelligently done, because their minds work in the manner for which it does. They need that active stimulation there. They are always imagining what a position would feel like, and this is not just once or twice. They do this thousands of times. So remember what you're getting into when it comes to an introvert. It's always been said, they're a lady during the day, or that good person during the day, but they're a freak in the bed. You find a lot of introverts that are that way. Now we are going to take the final break of the show. So totally up to you if you want to get some more snack or drink, or you just want to stay there and relax. Please do so. And when I come back, as I promised, we will have some positions for extroverts and introverts that are going to be really helpful. So, hang in there, and I'll meet you back for more sex talk with Andra.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Now our topic, and thank you for hanging in there. And as promised, we're closing out the show with some positions for introvert that work best basically with introverts. And then some for extroverts. Now, all of these positions are ones that you have heard. Just introverts will put their own twist on the sexual act. So do remember that they are thinking. They do like sex, just they're a little bit more quiet about it. They're not so social or anything like that, but they will take the deep sex much better than that wham bam thank you one night stand type deal. So as usual with everybody, spooning is one of the best positions for an introvert. It is an amazing position overall. It is a little added bonus in there because you're getting porked in the back, like you're getting penetrated by your partner. And it's a way in which, with an introvert, to ease your way into full-blown sex with them. This is actually considered one of the best morning positions. So think about that. Another one for an introvert is that missionary position. It is a very underrated position. It is a very good position. It can be modified, which most introverts will do. So remember that. It's not exactly these positions, yes, as though the spooning, the missionary, these are all common positions, but with an introvert, they're viewing them differently, which is much more of a help for them. And being able to provide a satisfying relationship to you or a prospective partner. Next one is mutual masturbation. With an introvert, you get that person who is generally shy and probably uncomfortable about their sexuality. If you kind of sort of want to work on that, try introducing mutual masturbation. In this way, it's a way of getting the introvert to kind of sort of open up, explore your body, or watch you explore your body, but it's also allowing them to watch you, and where they're like honing in things that are turning you on, and that's what they're doing. And if you're masturbating, obviously the both of you are in the bed together, I'm hoping, and just it obviously mutual masturbating is fun. It is mutually satisfying. It improves the communication in the bed and will help an introvert to be more confident when the next time comes up to actually have sex. We have one of the favorites, modified doggy style, and I think due to the fact that this is that close to close, skin to skin, contact and closeness of what you would get from the missionary position, just face down, which it is an amazing feeling for introverts, and they will tell you that. Remember, they are very honest, somewhat brutally honest at times, so you need to be ready. And they'll probably rock your world once they get comfortable with you sexually. They'll still be who they are. They won't go on social. They won't do all that stuff. But they will, like, break loose in the bedroom. The next position for an introvert is the sitting position, where your partner is sitting on top of you. It's just like spooning, just that you are having sex in a sitting down position, face to face. And as they consider it, and I'm not going to say the word, but they consider it a cuddle F-ing, and you know what that means to fill in the blank. It will help. Modified woman on top. We all know what that position is. For an introvert, it is easier for them to orgasm when they are on top and in control of the pace. There's a control element here with extroverts. There are some men out there that like that. There are other men that do not. They want to be the boss in the relationship, understandably. But that is not how it will happen nowadays. So remember that. Oh. Remember, an introvert doesn't find pleasure in going out and being sociable. They'd rather stay in the house, have a good book. Just sit. They could probably sit in their fuzzy pajamas and funny slippers for the entire night. Come home from work, they do what they gotta do, and they're home. They're not going out. They have chose not to go outside that door. That is their choice. It is their prerogative. But does not mean that they're not enjoying it. Their level of sex and how it is brought about is so totally different than what an extrovert would do. So, with that being said, here's some positions for an extrovert. Now, remember, extroverts are the opposite of introverts. So obviously they love having sex. They are very well spoken, can hold a conversation. I mean, I was there where you could, well, they thrive off of social gatherings for the most part, and introverts do not. Extroverts are very proactive in their sexual behaviors in the bedroom, and they could be a little wild. So, you like that? Let it flow. Remember, this is fun, and sex is fun. So the first position that is one of the positions that's very, very good to having sex with an extrovert would be the reverse cowgirl. It is a universal position, and it's basically to show off your assets. And with an extrovert, what do you think they're doing? The next one is the crab walk, a funky sounding one. But it is very good with extroverts. It is slightly more difficult and requires good communication on the behalf of both partners. Once, like you or the introvert is in that position, it offers that unique angle for penetration and things like that, but it's just the way it is and the way it's being done. The bridge is the opposite of the wheelbarrow. You're turned over facing your partner. It's like a modified missionary. And you can really work it out and turn up the volume or the insane level to your sexual pleasures. Standing, always a favorite, but with extroverts, you could be, this position is a way in which, say, your extrovert is your partner who's providing penetration. That, as an extrovert, is giving somewhat power and expression, which is one of the good things about it. You're going to get somebody who's actually going to express how they're feeling. You don't have to guess, per se, but they are better for it. It's high energy. It's really going to town. Obviously, the all-time favorite of almost everybody is the doggy style. Then we have the butterfly, where your partner has their torso and head on the bed, but you're lifting them up so that they are elevated as you penetrate her or him. And this one is one of the positions that's one of the better positions. But you're getting super duper deep penetration with it, which is what your partner is craving. Being an extrovert, it's not boring. It's keeping you up and moving. You can keep the same rhythm. And that's always a good thing. Because some people, that rhythm is key. And if you're having sex with this person, they're viewing grinding one way, and you as a partner are another, thinking of this in another way. It is, I don't think there's really any wrong answers to any position with an extrovert, because I believe they're game. They love social settings, so they may just do really good in a sex orgy club, which is where you'll probably find a lot of them. But you may also find an introvert in there as well. They're not immune to finding out things. And I think that exploring this with both either an extrovert or an introvert is very, very important. Remember, you want sex. You've been together. Try and do some things that are going to take your partner out of their comfort zone or make things comfortable for them in order for you and your partner to enjoy sex. Remember, the introvert is actually enjoying the sex. It lasts longer with an introvert. So remember that. It is having sex with an extrovert or an introvert brings with it different thought processes. For most of us, we have tendencies of introvert and extrovert. We've been able to balance it where it's not a problem. It's like a natural thing for us. It's something that we do, we have in us, but we don't express it. Let's put it that way. Introverts don't like the social. Extroverts do. They'll probably, lose their whole inhibition and just want to just be out there and everybody watch I'm having sex. That's probably what they will do. Now, this is the end of my show. Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. And as usual, please practice safe sex, if not for yourself or your partner. Very, very, very important. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That helps me, and it also helps the folks at GSMC Podcast. In addition, if you could please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And that is Fenny. Thank you, and have a good night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast.